Hey everybody, Kevin here, and this is the official end of 2024 video to kind of look back and see how the end of the year went and just kind of recalibrate all the wisdom, all the insights, all the experiences, all the thoughts, because this is really the time you want to capture this stuff. This is really an important season. And so often as we kind of gravitate towards the end of the year, you know, and this is a weird kind of year with it being with New Year's being on a Wednesday. It just kind of has a kind of weird element to it because you're kind of fragmented in the week. So hoping what this does is gives you some time to really process and think through some of the questions I'm going to ask you. Now, if you've gotten anything from me at this point, I've told you, hey, before you finish the end of the year, personally, hey, take a look at your camera. Go through all of your photos and relive those memories. I think that's a really important thing to do. This is on the personal level. And then look at your calendar. What did you like in your calendar? What didn't you like? And then we talked about all the 10 A's. What are all the things that you want to go through it and you have that? And if you don't, send me an email. I'll send you the list of things that you need to think through and talk through for yourself as you personally review the year. But this is more of a professional level assessment that I want to walk you through. And it's really, listen, this isn't necessarily something that you're going to like write down every detail and get everything. This is really about the general sense of things because some things are just going to really jump out big. And really what this is to provoke thinking, to provoke thinking and to really promote ideas about what you're thinking about going into 2025. There might be some things that you definitely want to do differently, which is important for you to know now so that you don't get sucked into the vortex of, how speed can kind of take away our ability to think clearly and especially in terms of our decision making. It's all the combination of all that we just want to be prepared for so that we don't get caught and we don't get sideways or, constrained in some ways, which often happens to us. And most of the time it happens to us in the first quarter of a new year. It's probably because we're excited about a new year when in reality, if we think about it, December to January is just the next month. But for some reason, the construct inside of our heads focuses us on this new feeling, which is a good thing. I want to build on that. But it's so often we don't ever take into account the connection between December and January. We break it off for some reason, and so what I'm hoping to do is to find that level of integration between last year and this year, so that there's a continuance of momentum going forward. So with that said, let me break down some things that I think you want to be evaluating as you wrap up the year. The first thing is I want you to make a list of things like hey, when it comes down to, hey, I'm glad what are some things that I'm glad we did this year? Hey, I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we did this. Now, again, this is with your team. This is on the professional level. This is on the level of, looking at the things that we did as an organization. Maybe it might be your department. Whatever that is, or the areas that you're overseeing, what are the things are you glad that you did? And then what are the next question is, what are the things I wish we would have done? I wish and maybe in some cases, I wish I would have been more, or I wish I would have said, or I wish we would have done this. What are the I wish we's? And they'll translate into some I wish I's. That kind of always does on this one. The next question I want you to wrestle with is we learned. We learned what this year? What did we learn? What did we go through and understand and break down and figure out? It's important to understand what you've learned because you want to build on that learning. You want to leverage that learning. That's why I'm talking about the integration of year to year. It's not like a new thing. You've learned so much that needs to be leveraged. We need to take that learning with us and not really try to go back and pick it out of the air. It's like, hey, let's put it in front of us so that we know that we're moving along in a proper way in terms of how we solve problems and develop and grow. The next one is, hey, we struggled with. What did we struggle with this year? What were some of the struggles? What were some of the hangups? What were some of the hurts and habits that we had to wrestle with this year as a team? Because, hey, we're all people. And we all have these struggles. We all have things that we're not good at, or we got to get better at, or you know what? This is just something that in the future we need to have more constructive dynamics around it. Maybe we need to have more scaffolding that supports the behaviors that we need to do to get there. Whatever it is to overcome that struggle, you need to be thinking about putting that in place as a leader in the organization. The next one is, hey, we overcame. Hey, we overcame this. We overcame that. These are the challenges that we overcame. Some of the challenges you overcame are some of the struggles that you had. And sometimes we need to connect the dots between things that we have overcome in light of the struggle it was to overcome it. You'll get some wisdom out of that. There'll be some elements that you can apply. Hey, how do we overcome that struggle? Wow, what if we applied that to another area? And then it would contribute to what you've learned. The next one is, hey, we failed. We failed. This is something we failed at. Hey, team, where do we break down? Where do we lose traction? Where do we get sideways? You know, what is that thing? Next question is, hey, we knocked it out of the park. Yeah, we failed, but we also knocked it out of the park. What are some things that we knocked it out of the park on? And what should we be celebrating? You know, here's the thing I know. We don't party enough. There's so many successes that a team has in a given year. And I'm going to give you, hey, as a leader, I'm going to give you one thing I think you need to do. I think you need to get index cards. You need to hand them out to your team just at the beginning of the year. And you need to say, hey, look, if you had $20 and only 5 minutes to spend it, what would you spend it on? Go. And do it real quick and then collect the cards. Don't tell me what you're going to do with it. But then you keep those cards. And then when all of a sudden someone's doing something really cool, someone above and beyond, someone's really rocking the free world, go get that card out. Look at the card and then see, hey, the card says I would buy 2 packs of, licorice or whatever that is. Dude, go buy some of the licorice and sit on their desk and say, hey, and they're going to go, how did you know I like licorice? It's just one of those things. It's one of those things where you always want to catch people doing things right, but you want to find small things that matter to them. Things that's cool in their eyes, to say thanks, because just saying good job is crawling under the bar, my friend. Make sure that when you hand them whatever that is that you're handing them, that you're telling them, when you did this helped us accomplish this so much better. It really took us to another level, and you knocked it out of the park when you did this. And I can't say enough. Thank you, and I appreciate it. That matters to somebody when you recognize the what it was, not just the what happened at the end, but the what and the how that went into it, or the effort that got displayed. That's a big, big deal. So, hey, I wish, I'm glad, I wish we learned, we struggled, we overcame, we failed, and we knocked it out of the park. But let me give you some other ones to be thinking about as we go into the new year, okay? So in the new year, what should we focus on? So based on what we've learned, everything that we have assessed, what do we need to focus on? And the second thing is what do we need to get excited about? Let's get excited about some things. Yeah, we need to focus on things. These are some things I'm excited about. These are some things, next question, we need to leverage. These are some things that we take with us going into 2025 that we really need to leverage and do some damage with. How about this one? Hey, what are some things we need to develop? Where are some areas that we need to work on? What are some things that we need to make sure that we get better at? Because every new level you go to always requires something new from you. So when you go to that new level, what's required that's new of you are skills that possibly maybe you don't have, or you don't know that you don't have yet. But hey, listen, this is areas that we need to develop. And you begin going through that process of discovery of what those skills are and develop those skills. That's a big deal. And if you're working with me, these are some of the reasons why we have conversations about things. Most of the time, we'll converse about a lot of things that will reveal some things that need to be developed. It doesn't always come out right off the bat, because sometimes the discovery process takes a little bit of time to articulate. And then once we articulate what those levels of discovery are, then we begin to start narrowing down the focus of what it is that we need to work on and develop. That's why a lot of times I ask you guys, hey, you might want to read this book. Now, again, I'm never going to tell you what to do. I'm always going to make recommendations that I think are in your best interest. But I do believe that if you were to do that, it would unveil way more depth behind the areas that you want to develop and work on. And so that's one of the big things. The next question is, what do we need to keep in mind? What do we need to keep in mind? Let's just make sure we keep this in mind. Let's not let this happen again. Or, hey, let's keep in mind that whenever we go through this part of a season, it's typically busier than others. So let's prepare appropriately for that. I mean, and again, I'm not saying anything it's not common sense, but common sense is not always common practice, my friends. And so I want you to have uncommon sense. It takes uncommon sense to make wise choices. And uncommon sense is doing what we're talking about right now. It's doing these things. And the last question I want you to wrestle with your team, with yourself and your leadership is we cannot take our eyes off of blank. This year, we cannot take our eyes off of our profit and loss statement. We cannot take our eyes off our growth engines. On a team, we cannot take our eye off our ability to communicate well. When we are not communicating well, we are failing. No, we have to communicate at a high level. What does that look like for you? Because that is the challenge, my friends. That is ultimately where this whole thing comes down to in terms of positioning for a phenomenal 2025. Because let me tell you something. I think 2025, this, will have its challenges. It will. I believe the first half of the year might be a tough year for a lot of us. There's going to be some challenges. There's a lot of change that's going to happen that we could get affected that's outside of our control. But we must control what we can control. That's why you do assessment. That's why you deep dive. That's why you develop. That's why you structure. That's why you get your team thinking about the things together that your team needs to be thinking about. So often we are so reduced into doing our deal, and we don't think about how the cumulative effort of everybody on the team accomplishes something so much bigger. We have to do that. Now, let me tell you something too. You need to be able to do this cross-departmentally too, because it's really easy to sit down in your world and go, well, my crap's together, but their crap isn't. Forget that noise. How do you help other people get better too? So if you're sitting there going, well, we're doing this for our team and then you're going, well, it sucks to be them. Well, why don't you be a good citizen and take some of this and share the love? Because the more that you do this together, the better we all go. And a rising tide raises all the boats in the harbor, my friend. So that's my challenge for you. Now, hey, again, personal, you got the 10 A's, you got to look at the photos, look at your calendar, you got that, that's personal. These are professional questions. These are ones you do either with your team or with yourself about your team. I'm going to say it's probably not a bad idea to kind of pull your team together and spend you could do this in about 30 minutes. And it won't take that long, and you will have much more of a compass to walk into 2025 with than you had an hour ago from listening to this. And I'm not sure how long, we're 13 minutes in the video, okay? So this isn't like going to kill anybody. Spend the time. Trust me, it will pay dividends. So with that said, I wish you all a wonderful 2025. As you celebrate the end of 2024, I'm so thankful for you guys in my life. And you make my life better. You make it richer. And the variety of all the relationships and the time that I get to spend getting to know all of you has really shaped mine and changed mine. And because of it, I really believe that I'm more loving and more generous being exposed to just all you guys. And it's really impacted my life in so many ways. I pray for you all. And I just want you guys to have a great time with your family at the end of the year. Look at all of the good that exists in our lives, because we're just so wired to think of all the stuff that's not, or the things that we don't, and we don't pay attention to the things that we do. And so, hey, I just want to give you that and wish you a happy new year and do some damage. And we got a lot to talk about here as we go into 2025, especially when we talk about the questions. So I'm going to hit you up. So stay after it, do some damage with this. And again, happy new year. Take care, everybody.